Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It's Tiff with Voices for Independence Fitness and Activities. And let me adjust my camera a little bit here. Sorry, I'm coming at you a few minutes behind schedule, but I was prepping some ingredients for this morning's recipe, which is a delicious zuppa, which is an Italian soup. So, and I was cooking the bacon ahead of time just because it took about 5 or 10 minutes to get that prepared. And honestly, cooking bacon for a live video is a little bit noisy. So I wanted to get that started as well so we weren't wasting too much time here. So for this Tuscan soup, it's easy to adjust this recipe. A traditional Tuscan soup has bacon and sausage, and it uses potatoes and kale and other delicious vegetables that you want to add. We're going to be using some onion, but again, it's easily adjustable to meet your eating style. So what I've done today is I have added 6 strips of bacon cut into 1-inch pieces, and we're just frying that up first ahead of time for our soup, and also a pound of sausage. So for my bacon, I chose to use uncured bacon where it doesn't use any chemicals or additives in the curing process. It's just use all natural nitrates that are found in celery to cure it. So really, uncured bacon is technically cured, but cured with all natural ingredients. And then also for my sausage, an Italian sausage, I decided to go with a plant-based sausage, obviously not because I'm vegetarian, because there's bacon in here, because I like to try new products that are out there, and I'm reading a lot about a plant-based diet, so I wanted to give it a try. The plant-based sausage I purchased is made from eggplant and red peppers, and there was one other thing. Let me see. I have it right over here. What I did. I'll find out. I'll give you the details, and I'll let you know how it tastes as well. And it cooks really nicely. It came in links, and you just got to take it out of the casing, and then you can either crumble it or you can cut it in slices, which I have done. So I prepped the bacon and sausage for our zuppa, our Tuscan soup here. So I'm going to just take them out and put them on a paper towel. Any drippings that are in your pan, they want you to leave in there. We're going to be using them to flavor our soup. And then we'll start adding our other ingredients, and then our sausage and bacon will get added back in towards the end of the preparation. So probably the cooking of the bacon might be one of the longer steps in the process. It's not that big a deal, but just so you know, because I know yesterday we made that really, turned out really delicious. That vegan chili we made with lentils and black beans. Came out, like I said, really great, and it was less than 15 minutes to make. Now, I did let mine simmer longer than it said because you use uncooked lentils, and sorry for backtracking to yesterday's recipe, I just want to give you some info. But my lentils, I like them a little bit softer, so I left them simmer on the stove for like 30 to 45 minutes, but it worked out well because I was just waiting to prepare dinner. All right, so back to our Tuscan soup here. So I did our sausage and our bacon ahead of time. So now what we're going to do, once we removed it, we are going to add our one fully diced, chopped, a whole onion is what I'm trying to tell you here. And we're going to throw that right in our pan in those delicious leftover bits and pieces from our sausage. And we're going to cook those up a little. I'm going to add a touch of water to mine, just because as I was cooking up my bacon and stuff here, it's going to steam. I cooked off a lot of my goodness, so I'm just going to add a little water to pull some of that great renderings off the bottom of my pan, and let my onions start to become translucent. So as we're allowing our onions to cook in that delicious leftovers from our bacon and sausage, I'm going to go over the rest of the recipe with you. At this time, you can also add a little bit of garlic if you want. And I would totally add it, but it looks like I forgot to get it out. So we'll be adding our garlic towards the end. You can use minced garlic or garlic powder or whole garlic cloves, but make sure you dice up your garlic cloves. And also, this calls for potatoes. So you can use 2 white potatoes or some great substitutes they give you is you can use cauliflower, which I'm gonna do. I just prefer cauliflower to white potatoes. And another thing they said, if you're trying to stay away from those high starchy food vegetables, you can use mushrooms as well. That's definitely not happening here. I don't like mushrooms. But great substitute ideas come with this recipe. So I'm going to be throwing in some cauliflower at this time. So I'm going to throw in maybe approximately 2 cups of diced and chopped cauliflower to mine. So I'm going to cut mine up a little bit more. Again, you want an equivalent to about 2 potatoes. So you don't have to chop it up real small, because when you're dicing your potatoes, you have pretty decent chunks. And most of this is already pre-chopped the way I bought it, and it's nice size. So I'm just going to add that right in, cutting the bigger pieces down. Now, obviously, your cauliflower is not going to need as much time as your potatoes to soften. But again, it is a soup, so as you simmer it on your stovetop, inevitably it will all soften nicely for you. So we're going to add that right in. And I'm going to open my other bag of cauliflower just to get a little more added in to be equivalent to 2 diced potatoes. So I'm saying about 2 cups. Give or take, if you're using the replacement here, whatever you feel. Again, soups are great because you can play around with the ingredients and measurements for the most part. So add what you like. Or you can do a combination of the potato, the cauliflower, and the mushrooms if you want to get them all in there. But I'm just using the cauliflower as a potato substitute. We're going to mix that around with the onion. And then what we're going to do, you can add a little bit of salt and pepper at this time. And we're going to add some broth to this. So we are going to want 4 cups of broth, chicken broth. And it's much needed at this time, as mine's starting to get a little bit dry here because they have absorbed all the bacon and sausage renderings. So we're going to add 4 cups of broth. I'm using chicken broth here. That's what they recommend. But if you have a favorite broth at home you'd like to use, go right for it. We're going to add that in. And then I need just 2 more cups here. Now also, towards the end of the recipe, we're going to be using a little bit of coconut milk. If you don't like coconut milk, you can use a heavy cream, a whole milk, a 2% milk, something that's a little bit thicker. I am actually going to use half coconut milk, half almond milk, just because although coconut milk is a great substitute for those heavy creams, it's still high in saturated fat, although it's a better saturated fat that your body can break down a little easier. But I'd rather just split it up. Personal preference. My soup may not be as creamy, but that's okay. And when you use coconut milk, unlike heavy cream, or kind of like heavy cream, it thickens up as you allow it to cook down or simmer on the stovetop. So don't panic if your soup isn't thickening it up right away. It takes some time. You got to cook off some of that liquid in the milk fat, even with coconut. Coconut milk is really just coconut and water. So as soon as some of that water gets cooked off, it'll start to thicken up. So what you're going to want to do is bring this to a boil. I'm going to pretend we're almost there, just for TV time here. So you're going to bring your potatoes and your broth to a boil. And then at this time, you're going to want to put your coconut milk in the pot, in the pan, in the soup pan here, whatever you want to call your device you're cooking in. So it's just 1 cup. So whatever type of milk you're using, if you're using coconut milk, always remember to shake it because it does separate. So all the thick coconut cream basically will be towards the top and the water at the bottom when you go to pour it in. You'll have an uneven mess. So I'm just going to use a half a cup of the coconut milk. See if oh yeah, that's mixed pretty well. You can tell it comes out a little clumpy if you haven't mixed it really well. So really make sure you shake and mix your coconut milk before you use it. It's really important. And then I'm going to top it off the other half cup to make it a full cup with a little bit of almond milk. And we're going to pour that right into our soup. And then don't forget, this is where we also will be adding the kale in. So this is packed with vegetables. Traditionally, Tuscan soup, would have some onions and celery and carrots added to your onions. They call that a mirepoix. It's like a French word, and it's a base for a lot of soups. This recipe didn't really call for the carrots and celery, but you could feel free to add them in. There's lots of variations. Zuppa Toscana is just a very generic term for basic Italian soup. So you can add whatever your little heart desires. So at this time, once it's boiling, what they want you to do is add your 5 cups of, this calls for kale. So even though I like to try and eat healthy and clean, kale is not on the top of my favorites list. I can eat it, especially if it's mixed in with other stuff, but it's definitely not a popular vegetable in with my family. Kale is kind of an acquired taste. It's definitely a stronger and a bitter taste, so when it's mixed into something, it'll be great, but I just didn't want kale laying around because to be quite honest, even here as we try to eat healthy, it would not get eaten. So, a great substitute for kale is spinach. So I'm going to be adding 5 cups of spinach to our recipe for our Tuscan soup. If I can open the tricky box here. All right, so just pack it down into your measuring cup again. This is a 2-cup measuring cup. So you just want to kind of pack it down in, again, using fresh kale or spinach. And we're going to do 5 cups. Now, when this gets poured into or dumped into your boiling soup there, it will start to wilt and it will decrease in size by quite a bit. So if you're thinking, oh my goodness, there's so much kale or spinach in that soup, believe me, it will shrink to less than half of its quantity when you cook it down. So don't be afraid if it's like piling up in your pan and is covering your whole soup and you're like, that is way too much. Trust me, it will cook way down. You'll barely even notice it in your soup. So we gotta get 5 cups here. I'm making a spinach mess all over my house here as it's dropping to the floor. I don't think I could have a professional show on the Food Network. I'm a little too messy for that. I don't think they'd approve. All right, so once you get that in, press your kale or your spinach down into the liquid, the broth and everything, and it will start to cook down almost immediately. You'll notice it shrinking in size. And then at this point, all you have to do is add your bacon and sausage back in. You still want to bring this to a little bit of a boil, and then once it comes to a boil, just turn it down to a medium heat, so it's just simmering, which is a light boil. It's not bubbling all over, but there might be little bubbles around the outside. That is a simmer. So I'm going to add my bacon and sausage back in. And we're just going to stir and let this come to a boil, like I said, and simmer away and let it start to thicken up for our nice Tuscan zuppa. So I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. As always, I'll try and remember to share it in the comments below. This is a great meal that's packed with vegetables, and like I said, you can use your plant-based meat or your regular meat, whatever you want to put in there. You could keep it completely vegetarian as well. So give it a try. It's a great time of year to test out different soups in the kitchen and see how creative you can be. So stay tuned today. We have lots of great lives coming up, and don't forget to attend Zoom Fit Class at 11 with Steph. I'll be there participating as well, getting my workout in for today so I can relax and enjoy this delicious soup on this cold winter day in Erie later tonight. So you guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon.